Have you ever cried after a game?
Yes, many times.
Tell us one.
I actually went to the World Cup in 2014 in Brazil, and I watched my US lose to Belgium in the round of 16, and that was like the first real emotional experience. I was like, oh man, it's over. I just traveled 3,000 miles to Brazil to come watch my team play, and it's just over like that at the end of the whistle. It was a hard day. It was a hard day. My name's Duncan Bochicchio, and I'm from Mid-City, Los Angeles. Nobody in my family's soccer background at all, but the story of my parents tell me is at 4 or 5 years old at the park, just always wanting to leave the playground to go watch these guys play soccer on the field next door, and it was kind of inexplicable, but it was just something I was drawn to at a really early age, and as long as I can remember, I've been obsessed. So I just remember making all-star teams for ASO, even though that's a small time thing. At the time, it was the first at 8 or 9 years old, and you're getting recognition from people around the league or talking about that Duncan kid, whatever. As long as I remember playing, there's always somebody looking for you somewhere. And that's not even just particularly to me, I just think that's the nature of sport. There's always somebody looking to pick up somebody from wherever you are. After college, I thought my window of playing soccer was over. Because the trajectory of an American soccer player is you play club, you play high school, and then if you're lucky you get to play college, and that's really it if you're not going pro. But I think after college, my first decision to continue to play is really important to me because since college, I found a new love for the game and a different appreciation for it as an older person, more experienced player, and now having worked and been in all kind of aspects of soccer, whether it's TV, coaching, whatever it is, I think that decision to not give it up and to pursue it further is really important in my life. I think luck has a lot to do with it, and honestly it's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about because I think it's important to be proud of your accomplishments, but at the same time there are plenty of talented players, way more talented than I am, who just haven't played at a higher level just for whatever reason, circumstantial. But in terms of things you can control, I think putting yourself out there in uncomfortable situations, pushing yourself as a player, it's some of the most important things as a developing soccer player. And then getting seen, so whether it's footage or it's going to recruiting camps or these kinds of things, it's getting yourself out to be recognized and with a chance to play in front of coaches. I think it's important to play with players more experienced than you. I think if you get too complacent or comfortable in wherever you are in your current sporting situation, I think this is a bigger life thing too, but it's easy to stop your trajectory of progression. So I think if you're playing with players older than you, better than you, you have no choice but to get better or just get chewed out and spit out. So reps is the biggest thing, right? So it's whether it's with your team and making sure you're training 5 days a week with the team or just on your own, you need to be getting 5-6 hours a day. And if that's the level you want to play at, you need to be playing, touching the ball at all times. So reps is the biggest thing, definitely. Yes. A really cool example I like to think of is there's a player named Charlie Kelman who plays in League One, which is the 3rd division in England. He's a 17-year-old kid, and he scored from halfway in a league game. Just bombed the ball from the halfway point. And obviously went viral on Twitter and all these things, an incredible young player. All of a sudden there's hype building around Charlie Kelman. Turns out he actually has an American passport and could play for both the US and England. So all of a sudden there's this kid getting looks with the US internationals, with the youth teams, because of his viral YouTube clip. It's completely changed how players are discovered, and before you hear about players through newspapers and TV and whatever, but seeing home footage of small lower league teams and now potentially US international is really cool. So I think for a coach to get recruiting emails or interested players in their program, if you get an email from a player who's 6'1" and weighs this much and scores this many goals or whatever, that's one thing to kind of see these numbers on a paper, but you don't really know the profile of that player necessarily or what level they're playing against, that kind of thing. But seeing footage or a highlight tape of these stats or whatever in action is so much bigger, because then you can really analyze a player. You can see where these goals come from, what are the competition is he playing, what kind of profile physically is this player. It just is the biggest jump, I think, in recruiting, particularly for players outside of the region where they particularly want to go to school. Because I went to school on the East Coast, I sent a video and that was pretty much it, So like, there's no way Emerson College is going to come fly out to Los Angeles to see me play in some high school games. You know, at the end of the day, the recording is everything. So. Yeah, I think noticing habits is the biggest thing, where I think if you evaluate yourself as a player without seeing footage, you can kind of remember motions of the game and particular plays you may have. Maybe you should have passed there, but you can't really visualize it and see the mistakes you've made or even the good things you've done beyond what your immediate vision is, right? So I think being able to look back on footage is really important to correct mistakes, to encourage good traits, and to kind of just notice habits for you as a player. Senior year of high school, my team hired a videographer, and she ended up putting like individual highlight tapes at the end of the season for everybody. And I remember just thinking it was so cool, like, to be able to go watch back some of my great goals or whatever, you know, good things like that. But it seemed like a really foreign idea, like why would we, you know, film games? We're not televising games. Like, what is the benefit of that? And then seeing that kind of final product of your highlight reel, and I ended up sending that out to colleges and helped me get it scouted, like I was talking about before. So watching back old highlights versus where I am now as a player is really cool to see that development. You know?
And you still go back to your television?
Of course. It's important to relive the glory days. It really is.
Anything else?
No, that was really good.
Is there anything you want to talk about, Dan?
No.